Joshua Faye Saunders was born on March 26, 1991 in Casper, Wyoming, entered a world that tested his resilience from the start. As an infant, a switch from breast milk to formula triggered severe health issues, including rectal bleeding that alarmed his parents, underscored the fragility of his early years. Diagnosed with Asperger's syndrome in his childhood, Joshua's condition shaped his worldview and social interactions. He spoke candidly about his diagnosis on his platform, his bluntness endearing him to some while making him a target for others. His openness was both a strength and a vulnerability, setting the stage for a life lived under scrutiny. From age 3, Josh faced relentless bullying. His awkward mannerisms, distinctive speech, and niche interests, gothic aesthetics, heavy metal music, and later, unconventional culinary creations, marked him as different. Schoolyards and neighborhoods offered little refuge, peers mocking him, and the pain of rejection became a constant companion. These early wounds left lasting scars, visible in the adult Josh who streamed from his apartment, still grappling with the echoes of his childhood ridicule. As a very young adult, Josh enrolled in Job Corps, seeking stability and purpose. There at 19, he met Stephanie, his first love. Their relationship, though fraught and ultimately doomed, was a cornerstone of his emotional life. Years after their breakup, Josh spoke of her with a mix of longing and pain, as if she symbolized a fleeting chance at the acceptance he so craved. During this period, he lived with his father, Clint, and Casper. Clint provided a steady anchor, but Josh's move to his own apartment in 2012 marked a new chapter, one where he faced the world's harshness alone. In 2011, Josh launched his YouTube channel as Gothic KingCobraJFS, rebranding to KingCobraJFS in late 2012. His content was a raw, unfiltered reflection on his life, chaotic, sprawling, and deeply personal. He shared mundane moments, cooking bizarre meals like burgers topped with candy or hot sauce-laced energy drink cocktails, and profound ones like his struggles with loneliness and mental health. His videos were a diary of sorts, capturing his meals, political rants, music, and griefs with equal candor. Josh's appeal lay in his authenticity. Unlike creators who polished their personas, he offered no pretense. Viewers saw the real Josh, chain-smoking, drinking heavily, ranting in cluttered kitchens, or strumming his guitar with dreams of being a rock star. His hobbies were eclectic. Wand making, where he crafted gothic-inspired staffs for a niche but devoted fan base, and music, where he channeled his Ozzy Osbourne and lo-fi performances. These pursuits, though mocked by some, were acts of defiance, proof he could create beauty in a world that often rejected him. In 2014, the documentary Gothic King Cobra by filmmaker Trapped brought Josh's story to a wider audience. The film portrayed him as a complex figure, comedic in his quirk, tragic in his isolation. It showed Josh surrounded by friends, Warlord, Couch Chris, and others who were as much outsiders as he was, all navigating a world that rarely understood them. The documentary amplified his visibility, turning him into a cult figure for some and a target for others. As KingCobraJFS's following grew, so did the cruelty directed at him. Trolls weaponized his openness, turning every misstep into content for ridicule. They swatted him, sending police to his apartment with false reports of violence. They flooded his live streams with insults, mocking his appearance, speech, and lifestyle. Personal relationships, like his lingering attachment to Stephanie, were dissected and memed. His struggles with alcohol, visible in increasingly erratic streams, were not seen as cries for help, but as entertainment. Josh's attempts at pet ownership, particularly in his bearded dragon Puff, became another flashpoint. Trolls branded him cruel, amplifying instances of neglect without context. Josh's actions seemed not from malice, but lack of resources, education, and stability, compounded by addiction and isolation. Yet the internet rarely granted him nuance. His friendships, too, were fodder for mockery. Figures like Warlord and Couch Chris, who shared his orbit, were ridiculed to characters and spectacle, their own struggles ignored. The harassment took a toll. Josh leaned harder into alcohol, his streams growing darker, slurred rants replaced playful energy, and his health, physical and mental, deteriorated. He spoke often of loneliness and wanting a partner, of feeling betrayed by a world that laughed at his pain. Yet he kept streaming, as an act of being seen, even by a hostile audience, was better than being invisible. By the early 2020s, Joshua's decline was unmistakable. Alcohol dominated his life. His streams, a mix of defiance and despair. He spoke of Stephanie, of childhood bullies, a world that never gave him a fair shot. His health faltered, weight loss, slurred speech, and a parlor that worried fans. The playful rock star persona gave way to a man visibly crumbling under grief and addiction. In 2025, two losses hit Josh hard. A close friend's suicide left him reeling, shaking in his already fragile sense of stability. Then in July, his idol Ozzy Osbourne died. Ozzy was more than a musician to Josh. He was a symbol of rebellion and resilience, proof that an outsider could triumph. Losing him was like losing a piece of himself. Josh's streams grew sadder and his drinking heavier, and alas, his hope dimmer. On August 21st, 2025, Joshua Saunders was found unresponsive in his Casper apartment. At 34, his body gave out, lips blue beyond saving. His father, Clint, confirmed his death the next day, leaving fans and detractors to grapple with the loss. Though the official cause was pending, years of heavy drinking pointed to liver failure as the key culprit. In death, the narrative around KingCobraJFS shifted. Trolls who once mocked him fell silent or joined fans in mourning. The hashtag KingCobraJFS trended as tributes poured in, celebrating Josh not a caricature, but a man who lived unapologetically. Fans called him the internet's main character, a symbol of resilience in the face of cruelty. Campaigns pushed for YouTube to award him the silver play button he had chased, a nod to his impact. Memorials took the form of video montages, 3D printed wands, and messages from viewers who saw in Josh's reflection their own struggles. Joshua Saunders was deeply flawed, stubborn, self-destructive, and often his worst enemy. But he was also a product of a world that rarely showed him kindness. His Asperger's, his childhood bullying, his struggles with addiction, all shaped a man who turned to the internet for connection, only to find both community and cruelty. Joshua's courage was in his refusal to hide. Where others curated perfection, he shared his messiness. The failed receipts, the drunken rants, the heartfelt guitar sessions. That vulnerability made him a target, but also a beacon for those who felt unseen. He was the bully kid who still picked guitar, the loner who crafted wands for strangers, the dreamer who called himself a rock star despite the world's laughter. KingCobraJFS's legacy is not just the chaos he broadcasted, but in the humanity he revealed. He showed that even the most flawed among us can create, endure, and leave a mark. In a digital age that thrives on facades, Josh Saunders gave the world his truest self and paid the ultimate price for it. Thank you all for coming to this video, and to YouTube, where the fuck is this man's play button? I'll catch you on the next one.